4 has officially ended, so here's a completely normal anime video that isn't a love letter to an anime that no one talks about. Kingdom Season 6. Boy, have we waited long for this one. This season managed to beat out One Punch Man Season 3. Well, I guess that doesn't really count for much. How about Spy Family Season 3? Then again, that is a completely different genre. Okay, how's this for a fun fact? Kingdom Season 6 managed to beat out My Hero Academia's final season. Crazy, huh? Granted, way more people watched My Hero, but still, a win's a win. And as one of the few Kingdom enthusiasts that exist on this earth, I'll take it. Not even a minute into the episode and Shobun-kun is already sweating. We got an actually decent level of art style, Sei said an old business, some new allegations by Roboku, and a bunch of new characters. I can't wait for next week. Words cannot fully describe how good Kingdom is, but a wise man once said, if words can't, numbers can. Something that I noticed straight away was that the art style got a tiny more consistent. This is something I'm very relieved about. The trailer honestly had me worried. Every character looks pretty good, and it is definitely an improvement over the previous seasons, especially in Kyokai's case. I had to pause the episode for a solid 30 seconds just to fully appreciate her character. Kanyo, the most intense place in all of China right now, because Roboku is seeking an audience with the King of Qin. I love how when Roboku tried to pay his respects, Sei just completely shut him down. He was not having it. He already knew that Roboku was coming here with some bullcrap. He says he is here to convince Sei to abandon his dream of unifying all of China. Surprise, surprise. Not really. But the next thing he said was so interesting. Roboku said he wished he served a king like Sei. He did go on to reiterate that he still would have tried to convince Sei to abandon his dream, but still, how intriguing. Imagine Roboku was one of Qin's great generals, fighting alongside Mobu. That would be so unfair. One of the things I really enjoy about Roboku's character writing is that he is portrayed initially as a graceful, patriotic hero. He isn't necessarily a villain, but rather, he is simply fighting to protect his kingdom. At first glance, this might be all, but he isn't that simple. Roboku might be one of the most hypocritical characters ever. One of his points to counter Sei was that a kingdom's strength reaches a fanatical level when its life is on the line. That Qin would know this better than anyone else after repelling a coalition invasion. What a friggin' bastard. He was the one that caused that coalition invasion in the first place. Then he has the audacity to say that Sei's path of unification through military might will only lead to gruesome and bloody war. Like Roboku did not just call 6 whole kingdoms to rain down fire on Qin. So the hypocrisy is definitely a nice layer that adds to Roboku's character. Guess what the most dangerous man in all of China said next? He also supposedly longs for the eradication of war. This was the same man, by the way, that went out of his way to invade Qin, to use Hoken to bait out Oki and slay him, all for the love of the game. He quite literally was clout chasing to be able to create the coalition invasion. But Roboku didn't come here empty-handed. He came with a rebuttal against unification, to call for a meeting of all 7 kings at Kanyo to establish an alliance, with the ultimate goal being everlasting peace. The terms are simple. All kingdoms must pledge to strictly forbid warfare. Any one kingdom who breaks this pledge will be destroyed by the other 6. Honestly, it doesn't sound bad at all. Even Sei agrees that it would likely bring peace to all of China, but the next point he brings up is the most important, and something that I fully agree with. There is absolutely no guarantee that a century from now, such a pledge will be upheld. All it takes is for one twisted king to say this is a stupid pledge that my ancestor made, not me. Or, we're way stronger than everyone else, why shouldn't we take from those weaker than us? Sei said it best, with such an imperfect legacy, we cannot truly claim to have achieved peace. This same failure has been repeated over and over again, which is why Sei is trying to say, to hell with the status quo. There is then no more fitting way for Sei to end his debate with Roboku. Despite knowing that all the other kingdoms will fight to the death, he continues with his dream regardless. He proclaims that through military might, Qin will conquer all 7 kingdoms, including Zhao, and unify all of China, right to Roboku's face. He pretty much said, if y'all are that scared to box, run back home to your daddy and beg him to surrender, bro's too cold. In the manga, it's a different take. Sei tells them to go back to their king and let him know to surrender as soon as he can. Badass. I do like the anime version too though. Right before Roboku tries to leave, he tells Sei that Qin will be the one everyone regretting all this in the end, but Sho walk him down Heikun is not having it. He will not take Roboku's baseless slander, but I can't lie. Roboku stands on that. It's not baseless at all. He said if this dream of unification continues, the first kingdom to perish would be none other than Qin. Since this undertaking is one that requires insane endurance, Zhao in the middle needs to be defeated first. But that's something that won't happen as long as he's around. I love the confidence. But Roboku then brings up a great objective point. With Qin focused on a strenuous war with Zhao, Chu is sure to take advantage of this opening. Great General Karin would not let this opportunity pass by. She looked freaking awesome, by the way. The art style is, dare I say, so damn beautiful. Even when Shoheikun tries to say that Qin would defeat Zhao before such a possibility occurs, Roboku said that's a joke. Who in Qin could even slay me? Kanki? Mobu? To? Osen? He doesn't care. He can take all of them. Pause. He said it's laughable that this is how they intend to unify all of China. These chumps? In fact, Roboku proclaims that all four great generals could attack him at the same time and there would still be no match. He wants all the smoke. I love it. I just want to add, since it's cut out of the anime, in the manga, Roboku really does stand on business. He says those Qin generals that y'all love so much, not a single one of y'all realized the insane power gap between them and I, Roboku. I love it. I don't know if the anime excluding it will make people hate his cockiness as much, but just wanted to let y'all know because it's one hell of a way to antagonize him, especially since he can be seen as a good guy. Personally, I would love to see the Toe versus Roboku matchup so that Toe can get revenge for Oki, but no matter the matchups, it's going to be exciting. Let me know who you guys want to see Roboku fight in the comments. From the trailer, it looks like it's going to be either Yotanwa, Kanki, or Osen, so I'm happy no matter what. You know what else makes me happy? The Archer brothers. Or as described in the anime, Bobros are introduced. Yes sir. Finally, some Archer action in the Heishin unit. Right off the bat, the Bobros fail the physical test and get cut before showing any of their skills. This leads to 10 revealing the special skills criteria. To pass as a special skills archer, the Bobros must hit a target from twice the usual distance to make up for the lack of physical ability. Impossible, right? Wrong. Turns out it's light work. The older brother Jin easily hits the target, shooting through a crowd of soldiers sprinting. Shameless aura farming. Of course, it was right on the money. We thought that was impressive. The distance from there was actually 10 times the usual. While everyone is mesmerized by what just happened, the younger brother Tan does the exact same thing, right on the money. He said, let me get in on the action and farm too. This leads to Shin and Ten reacting exactly how we would. Holy crap, where did these brothers come from? How did they learn these skills? Their daddy taught them how to hunt? That can't be all right. It isn't. In comes some huge lore. Their dad Sogen was actually the leader of a special cavalry archer unit in the Jukyo army. It's cut out of the anime, but in the manga they were known as the Azure Bows. That isn't even the most exciting part. This man was the only member of the legendary 10 Bows of China to hail from Chen. He earned this honor by defeating Duke Haku of Wei, another 10 Bow. It now all makes sense. Jin and Tan, the prodigious sons of such a legendary man. How epic that Shin has gotten some awesome new archers, and how fitting that these boys wanted to join because the Heishin unit is akin to an arrow in flight. Once again, I wanted to let y'all know some cool stuff cut out from the anime that's in the manga. The 10 Bows of China first came about because of the top 10 from an archery competition organized by King Beret of Zhao. The champion was said to be able to hit a target 8 out of 10 times from 500 paces away. It's here we're introduced to some other 10 Bows. Vishuri, known as God Bow, the strongest archer in Wei, Senshu Bi of Yan, Seika Un of Zhao. And by the way, once Shin and Ten decided to let them join, in the anime, it just reveals a target with no care for the amount of arrows. But in the manga, obviously, there's 10 on purpose to show that these bow bros hit the target 10 out of 10 times, better than the champion. This is why they're so insane. That's not all, Tan just like me. He said they also heard Kyokai was a baddie. She a baddie with her baddie friends because they like 10 too. To each their own, not for me. On top of the bow bros, we're introduced to Mr. Potential, Kanto. My boy's yoked, and I'm not going to let it slide, but the anime left out this lovely panel of Kyokai. I already know some people are going to complain about this episode having a lot of setup. Some people might have been expecting to get straight into the action, but personally, I think setting up the stakes makes the fighting all the more epic when it's time. Anyway, this episode was a solid 8 out of 10 for me. This week, Rishi can't stop oral farming. Shohei-kun cooked up an insane plan and the young trio are getting hyped up like crazy. Let's talk about the cliffhanger. Shin, Moten, and Ohon are now being relied on, but that still leaves us wondering who is the supreme commander of this Western Zhao invasion. Say what you want about Yotanwa, but if you have good taste, that's the ideal pick. Where is the opening song? I'm waiting for a banger. But at least the ending song is pretty good. Man, let's just get straight into the episode. This episode opens with visiting the locked away keeper of legalism. If Shin could be said to be a beast when it comes to martial might, and Osen when it comes to strategic ability, then Rishi could be said to be a beast when it comes to law. This supposed simple legalist drops some mad wisdom. When Shobunkun asked Rishi if he thought he would live to see these countless laws he's written come into fruition, Rishi said that does not matter. Whether he lives or dies, the law lives on. The nature of law is that it continues to live on forever while maturing. To think that Saitaki was so smart and sly as to let Shobunkun instead of Shohei-kun stay during Sei's debate with the Chi King. It was all for this moment, so that all suspicion would be alleviated when bringing Rishi and his much needed capabilities back into the fold. It feels so surreal listening to Shobunkun and Rishi talk about a world ruled by law as some kind of great undertaking. I'm sure during ancient times it was, but still it's cool to see something that's normal to us being broken down in Kingdom. According to Rishi, the shape of these post-unification laws touch on the very essence of legalism. To base laws on the amount of people is the wrong mentality. Rather, laws should be based on culture. In these warring states, varying culture exists through different systems of writing and measurement, currencies, and ideologies. This leads to one glaring issue. States like Wei, Zhao, and Han place Confucianism before the law, a very different culture. In the manga, Rishi says Confucianism versus legalism would be a whole separate war in itself. Even if that were dealt with, there is the biggest issue of unifying not only the people, but all cultures into a single identity. Keyword being identity. This all leads to Rishi asking Shobunkun what exactly is law? To use punishment? To control the people and govern them? No, punishment is simply a tool. The law is a wish. Or in other words, it is the ideal behavior that a nation is seeking from its citizens in the form of words. To that end, a post-unification world requires considering how we want the people of this unified nation to act, or rather, how we wish for the people to act. Like Rishi said, the law is a wish. Again, man, politics might not be as focused upon as the warfare aspect in Kingdom, but when it is explored, it's pretty damn awesome. Shobunkun says it best, Rishi, the keeper of legalism, is essential for a post-unification world. This was probably the best scene in the episode in my opinion. It was just so epic, and the shocking nature of Shohei-kun's plan leaves you with this feeling of uncontrollable anticipation, wondering how on earth will Chin pull this off? You're telling me we spent an entire season conquering the Kokyo Hills just for us not to be able to use this linchpin because Roboku was too fast in preparing Zhao's defenses. There are now defensive bases where there used to be nothing. Even if individually these bases aren't that strong, Roboku's plan hinges on constantly building new ones that Chin would still have to destroy before moving forward, dragging out the war to 10 years. Honestly, genius by Roboku, because it stops Chin from using any fair plan, or as the manga describes it, orthodox plan to conquer Zhao. But that's just it. Sei notices, I notice, we all notice. Not being able to use an orthodox plan to conquer Zhao means the dream of unification is dead. Does that mean there's an unfair plan, or as the manga describes it, unorthodox plan? Shohei-kun is cooking. In his mind, Roboku could be seen as distracted, seeing as he's made so many preparations to prevent a war in the West. In the manga, Shohei-kun goes as far as to predict that Roboku sees these western mountains as the final line of defense. So Shohei-kun, the insane bastard, proposes to use the entire Western campaign as a feint and head straight for Kantan's throat, the Zhao royal capital's throat. In other words, Gyo, Zhao's second biggest city. Imagine all this preparation that Chin has done, culminating in Kokyo Hills, just to use it all as a feint. It's insane, but that's why it's so spicy, so epic. This man Shohei-kun says such a plan will result in conquering Zhao in only 3 years, 7 years less than an orthodox plan. This got me thinking, who are the most unorthodox commanders in all of Chin? You guessed it. The young trio, Shin, Moten, and Ohon, are quite literally known for being unpredictable. So it's no surprise when Shohei-kun calls them back to Kanyo to let them know the plan early. Despite Ohon Ohan trying to say that Shohei-kun lacks faith in his strategy, Chin's chief of military affairs begs to differ. When it comes to Roboku, we must expect the unexpected. So these three units who excel at on-the-spot judgment are crucial to this strategy. His dramatic ass even goes as far as to say that this entire time, these three specific units have been nurtured from the very beginning as independent reserves for this very moment. It's almost destiny, one might say. I'm telling y'all, it's the young trio's time to shine. Shobunkun expects more from these 5,000-man commanders than other generals. Kyoku says this isn't something they're hoping for, but rather they expect. Gyo will only end in victory if they perform. If that wasn't epic enough, the king of Qin himself appears. Sei tells this young trio Zhao is only one roadblock of many on our way to unifying all of China. In his eyes, their might is needed for what is yet to come as well. He expects great things from them, so much that he urges these three to take the rank of general, almost telling them to claim what is rightfully theirs. In the manga, Sei tells them that they must make their names roar throughout the land. How epic. Sei said, I need y'all, stay alive no matter what, no screwing up, he won't allow it. So damn cool, man. These are the king of Qin's treasured blades. If there was any foreshadowing, here it is. The three greatest generals in all of Qin who will be most responsible for unifying all of China. This was another 8 out of 10 episode. It was awesome to finally see the official first opening. Tell me why the animation looked fluid. Shin and Ohan I expected, but they even had Moten moving like that? Not to mention, I love the actual song. Osen's plotline is getting a little bit too good, that at times, it can feel like he's the main character. I even thoroughly enjoy the exploration of Osen's psyche, but I do not enjoy constantly seeing his terrible art style. Why does he look like that? If I had to, gun to my head, had to, listen to Mommy ASMR, Yotanwa's voice would be the first. Arguably, the greatest kingdom arc is finally here, and this season wants to show that to all of us. But don't let that distract you from the fact that the voice actor for Shun Suiju drops one of the best vocal performances ever. Daddy? Episode 3 begins with announcing the supreme commander of the Qin army for this Western Zhao invasion. At first, I'm like, no way. Kunki of all people got chosen? Yep, a beloved character's gonna die today. Then Yotanwa is called up as well. Now I'm confused, but also riled up. That's best skill. Hecky just like me. Anyway, how are you supposed to have two supreme commanders? That's when Shohei-kun confirms that these two will be leading their respective armies while Osen will be the supreme commander leading the entire invasion. I know the Osen stands are jumping for joy right now. I could not be more furious. I will say, seeing Shin meet with Bajio and Taijifu again made me feel very warm inside. The official first opening has been revealed. I've waited 2 entire episodes and finally, at the 3rd, it was worth the wait. I keep saying to myself, don't get too excited, but how can I not be excited? The art style looks fantastic, the animation looks fantastic. Is this where all the budget went? I didn't know it was possible for Shin, Ohan and Moten to have that many frames. Studio signpost. All I ask is to keep on improving like this. I'll see y'all with 1000-year Blood War animation in season 10. As for the song itself, that crap is fire. The Hyo cameo, don't do me like that. Jukyo and Oki trying to make me emotional. Then we have Shin using Oki's glaive with Jukyo's shield. That crap is beyond epic. The entire opening was just so beautiful. It trumps season 2 as my favorite. Back to Osen's appointment as Supreme Commander. I hate it so much that the people love and adore him. I'm not an Osen hater though. Heck, he's not wrong by being sus of Osen. He is pretty sus. Heck, he might be an imposter. Get it? In all seriousness, Hecky got done pretty dirty by Osen during Sanyo. Bro said he would make perfect bait. He ain't wrong. Hecky is the greatest bait under the heavens. But the reason why Osen is still chosen despite everyone being sus of him is because he was acknowledged by Kosho of the 6 great generals of Qin, the only pure tactician of the 6, and that was a young Osen. Osen now is apparently a monster. I hate it. I hate to see it. Insane glaze. He better cook this arc. You know who's definitely cooking? Our boy Shin. He is finally taking up Oki's glaive. The scene was so perfectly dramatic. That's how much gravity this situation should have. The one question many Kingdom fans have pondered at least once: when will Shin take up the glaive that he inherited from great General Oki? Today's the day, the moment everyone has been waiting for, and it's finally here. It's only right that everyone is in tears and going crazy. Also, it's so weird seeing Oki being drawn so well in the anime, since Bayo's animation was mostly ass. But at the same time, it's always nice to see that he is remembered. Now it's time to move out. All armies heading east towards Zhao. So incredibly epic. Another scene that justifies further why the best word to describe Kingdom is epic. Kanki, Yotanwa, Osun, Qin's future is in the hands of these three generals. Okay, I've been glazing Qin for a minute now. It's only right that I show Zhao some love. No, not Roboku, but Shun Suiju. This man looks so damn clean. The animators definitely spent some extra time on him. It's funny because I remember many people making fun of him in the manga, including me. But in the anime, his looks coupled with his voice actor, I can see people fangirling over him. Me. It's so funny to know that at the same time, Roboku and Shun Suiju are stressing over Zhao's defense. Shin is out here having the time of his life with Oki's glaive. It's like he's Thor, showing love for Mione or Stormbreaker. He having such a good time that he gets pissed when En tries to get his attention. Like, En, get off me, man. Hilarious. Now, why do Yotanwa gotta make me feel a type of way? The only way to describe her voice acting is sultry, alluring, sensual. Why is something rising deep inside me? She might be giving 10 advice right now, but she can whisper in my ear advice anytime. Alright, back to what's actually happening. The strategical showdown between Roboku and Shoheikun is already underway. Something like, but I like it. Fake food reserves, underground hidden food storages, a little faint to get the strategical blood flowing. A nice sign of things to come, one might say. It's cool because supply lines are everything, so a fake one makes things exciting, as in how many times can these strategists deceive each other? Like I said before, I hate to see Osun win. Even though I'm not a hater, bro is already cooking. At first glance, Osun stopping the Qin army's march because of rain might seem like an obvious decision. I like to think it is one of the earlier insights into Osun's mastery of the art of war. A wise commander always waits for favorable weather conditions. It's all to prevent the domino effect. Rain makes soldiers tired, being tired lowers morale, lower morale leads to an instant disadvantage in battle. So as minor as it may seem, it is a major sign of things to come from Osun. Speaking of Osun, Ordo's back. Who would have thought? The guy that got absolutely railed by Osun during the coalition arc is back. Surely he doesn't get sunned again, right? Not with Qin invading Zhao at the same time as Yan. I guess we'll have to see. It wouldn't be right for me not to talk about the official first ending. I was waiting for this as much as I was waiting for the opening. Dear Lord, I am so thankful for being able to lay eyes on such beautiful, such lovely animation. The ending almost looks like something made by Studio Ghibli again. The budget goes to the opening and this ending? I wouldn't want that for the entire anime, but during certain scenes, it would be a luxury. What are my favorite parts of the ending? Kyokai, Yotanwa, Oki's glaive, all normal picks, right? As for the song itself, it goes unnecessarily hard. Y'all can't see, but I'm making a stank face. Overall, this episode did feel like it squeezed a lot into one, but it deserves a 10 out of 10. This has got to be the most cooked that Zhao has ever been. I mean, just think of everything that's going wrong for them right now. Ordo is attacking them from the east at the same time as Qin from the west. Their capital region is somehow now in trouble after all their preparation was made to defend the western mountains. The Zhao king is a weirdo. Kyokai keeps aura farming. Osun spawned 2 generals. And Yotanwa is leading the attack on Zhao's national gate after Qin won the race and got there first. I always thought Osun was doomed. From the official trailer to the first few episodes, his art style was not ideal at all, but I'm glad that I was proven wrong this episode. Studio Signpost just seems to keep on improving, and there's nothing more that I could ask from them. Speaking of art style, the young trio looks amazing, especially Moten. He got that crap on. He really got that on. My brother going into battle with 2 chrome heart chains, a Dior fur coat over a Burberry silk robe. Like, damn, Moten more dripped out than an MF. Bro said he ain't got time for all that armor crap. Look good, feel good. You know what else look good? My new favorite character, Shueisha. The man with beautiful golden locks hailing from Seika, who was revealed this episode to be a candidate for the 3rd great heaven of Zhao. The most badass thing about him is that he declined this offer because that's how much he hates the Zhao king. But we'll talk more about that degen later. Ordo chose the worst city to invade, and knowing what we know now. First of all, I think the Shueisha tease in the anime was done a little better than the manga. Granted, I'm pretty sure that's only because Hara knew how he wanted Shueisha to look by the time this episode came out. The Seika or Shueisha army flags in the background while giving us an actual sneak peek into how Shueisha looks is so cool. In the manga, all we get is a shot of his muscular back and arms. Not to say that's bad. Personally, the whole silhouette move is a different type of hype in and of itself. I just wanted to put it out there that the anime reveal did its own thing. Something else that I wanted to note was that in the manga, Shueisha is officially actually known as the Sleeping Tiger. I'd like to think this is intentional since Roboku did say that Shibusho was not someone to act unless his city of Seika was under threat, on top of being someone who was more than worthy of being a great heaven of Zhao without being one, hence the Sleeping Tiger. In the anime, Bonanji simply says that Yan is stepping on the tiger's tail, still naming Shibusho as a tiger, but again, I enjoy the manga's more intentional nickname. Last thing to note in this scene, the anime ends it with Roboku affirming his belief in the strength of the Eastern defensive line, now that Shibusho has entered the fray. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Shibusho stan, so I'm all for it, but this is definitely glazed by the anime. The manga mentions that combining Shibusho's stalling Ordo and the efforts of a whole nother general in Chohaku is the reason why the East should remain strong. The anime doesn't mention him at all. Again, I don't mind, but the anime is most definitely glazing Shibusho. Now, for this next part, I'm not at all trying to say that the anime version sucked. If anything, up until now, the anime has not only, for the most part, faithfully adapted the manga, it's also done a pretty good job in adding anime-only scenes to give the panels more life. But we have to talk about this next scene, Roboku discovering the Gyo strategy. I don't know if it's an animation diff, an art style diff, or maybe this scene is just better experience in the manga medium, which is something I think more people need to realize. But Roboku's anger after finding out that Chin's entire Western campaign was a feint, and their true aim was Zhao's capital region, hit way harder in the manga. I mean, I'll let y'all see for yourselves the difference in gravity for this scene in the manga. Let's be real though, whether it's the manga or the anime, most of us are going to thoroughly enjoy Roboku being mad. It's hilarious seeing him make the Arthur fist and crashing out. Alright, remember I said that we were going to talk about the Degen Zhao King? It's time. In the anime, he's only a little bit sus, seeing as he only has little boys and girls as his servants in his bathhouse. Okay, a lot sus. Crazy, but nothing compared to the manga. Not only does he have naked little boys and girls attending to him in his bathhouse, he has them sucking his toes, giving him a massage. He goes beyond him being freaked out of his mind. The Zhao King is a straight up pedophile. He's trying to strike a chord. Shout out OVO, and that is why everyone hates the way that he walks, the way that he talks, hates the way that he dresses. Now y'all understand why Shibusho hates this man. Okay, back to the actual front lines. Chin is racing against Zhao to get to Retsubi first, Zhao's national gate. Naturally, Chin are attacked by a mid-sized Zhao unit where we get to see the joint army's true strength. Osen and Yotanwa are able to continue onward to Retsubi without hesitation, knowing that Kanki can easily handle one army by himself. The joint army is a complete counter to Zhao's attempt in slowing Chin down. It might seem obvious to most, but it's still cool for Ten to point out that each of the three armies are able to win a Kokyo campaign level battle by themselves. Epic. The sheer scale of this war is nothing short of epic. This next moment might be short but not small. Ten confirms that Retsubi is indeed Zhao's version of Kenkoku Pass. In other words, it is the national gate guarding the capital region that, if conquered, would spell the doom of Zhao. Epic. When Shin tells everyone to stay ready whether or not Retsubi was tomorrow or the day after, Kyokai instantly starts aura farming, and Shin just immediately listens to his wifey. What a both wholesome and funny moment. Like, who Kyokai feeling like? Anyway, Chin ended up beating Zhao to Retsubi, and right before Osen decides who will be leading the siege, we meet his two big guns, Ako of the first army and Mako of the second army. I wonder what's in store for us, seeing as these are people that chose to swear fealty to Osen of all people. That might sound like Osen hate, but I'm just saying. Osen himself leaves much to be desired when it comes to martial might, so these two must be the answer to that. And speaking of answers, Osen believes the Yotanwa army and the Heishin units are the answer to conquering Retsubi. The art style in the manga definitely clears this scene. Just look at the difference, come on. Although the anime is still hype, there's little funny moments that were cut out that I enjoyed, like this one. Moten can't fathom how Yotanwa, who previously conquered the impenetrable Wei city of Enshi, could somehow not excel at sieging castles. But Rikason says no one was actually there to witness it. What a skeptical bastard. He ain't wrong though. Another small thing that the anime doesn't mention is Moten comparing this battle of Retsubi to the battle of Sai. Similar to how Sai acted as the throat of Kanyo, Retsubi is the gate leading to the throat of Kantan, Yo. So it isn't crazy that Zhao's morale would have them fighting with a multiplied strength, just like what happened to the Sai citizens back then. While Shin and Ten are nervous about only having 2 days to conquer Retsubi, Yotanwa says they only need half a day. What a badass! Surely, she isn't all words, right? I mean, her plan is a foolproof one. Climb walls, open the gates from the inside and just win. Simple, right? These two are still sweating buckets, while Yotanwa insists on showing them the mountain people way of fighting. Not long before Baggio chimes in and says it's more like the Yotanwa way of fighting, the one who was able to unify 100 mountain tribes, including the Figo and Mera tribes. To anime onlys, it doesn't really hit, but with context from the manga, the reason why her unifying with the Figo and Mera tribes is such an insane feat is because their history of war spans centuries. Baggio says every elder thinks the same thing. Such a saying, where 100 tribes are standing together, was unthinkable. It's only because of Yotanwa, the Lord of Death, that it's happened, and we are about to witness her way of fighting. Supposedly, she always overpowers her enemies head on. How else to end off this scene than telling you guys that it's once again an art style diff? Look at her, look at my goat. All in all, the highlight for me had to be Shibisho's introduction because he is now best girl. But objectively, the best scene was Yotanwa moving towards the front of the 100 mountain tribes that she unified. A solid 8 out of 10 episode. Shin both looks and sounds amazing this episode, and witnessing Oki's glaive in actual high quality was absolutely hype. Although if I was there and he did that to one of my boys, I'll just put it this way: the amount of sweat I produced would have put even Shobun-kun to shame. I'm so happy with the adaptation they're giving this arc though. It seems like ample resources are being given to animating the characters we know and love most. No Zhao soldier is catching a break this season, and that scene with Yotanwa was one of the most epic scenes in the entirety of Kingdom, and Yotanwa herself by far is the fiercest general that we've ever seen in this anime. But despite that, you can call me Yotanwa's blade because only she could pull me out. Last episode ended by teasing Yotanwa's way of fighting. The fact that she always overpowers her enemy head on. But what does that even mean? What a cliffhanger. This episode begins by giving us a clue to that answer. Yotanwa does nothing but ride to the front of her army, and the entire mountain people go nuts when they see her. Herein lies our answer. She calls Zhao's war cry a joke and asks her people to show them what a real war cry sounds like. And what we witness next is insane. I thought it was already impressive when the mountain people had a surge of morale after laying eyes on Yotanwa, but I was quickly proven wrong when the mountain people lost their minds. What was there not to love about it? Their screams were deafening, the ground was shaking, Ten was sweating. I won't lie, at first I thought the mountain people's reaction to Yotanwa riding to the front was a bit underwhelming, but now I think it was intentional. Having the first part be different made the next part with everyone screaming their heads off hit that much harder. So I like the decision making there. If it isn't obvious by now, Moten confirms what Baggio meant by Yotanwa's way of fighting. In this specific case, morale is Zhao's greatest weapon, and she means to destroy it by outdoing them in their own best category. What a freaking badass. As for cut content from the manga, I thought this would be a little important to note. During her speech, Yotanwa recognizes that even though this is technically a war between the Plainsfolk, it is also a war for the sake of expanding their own people's world. So really, Yotanwa is similar to Sei in that perhaps she seeks to unify all of China's mountain tribes. Another interpretation may be Yotanwa's desire for the mountain people to be accepted more widely throughout China. She's not done though. Yotanwa is still sunning Zhao. She calls Retsubi, Zhao's national gate, a little castle. That crap is hilarious. I will always love how Yotanwa makes the Plainsfolk sit down and hypes up the might of her people. That's the Lord of Death, man. The Mountain Queen, who managed to unify 100 tribes. The battle has now begun, and Yotanwa's horseman unit charged towards the gate. A tactic with little thought given to it, or so it seemed. This Heba tribe not only managed to dodge a volley of arrows using the Speed Force, but killed a Zhao soldier that had to be left behind, or else they would have breached the gate. That's a fate. I'm not gonna lie, seeing them smack the gate like it was gonna do anything was so funny. Zero brain. One of them even tried to lift the gate. Tajifu is such a troll. He said that won't work. Like everybody didn't already know that. I would say caveman brain, but it might just be mountain folk brain. While that's happening, Ohon gets word that Shin has been put in charge of sieging Retsubi. He is not happy, to no one's surprise. It's not even Ohon hating by himself. His entire unit is in on it too. These boys do not want to see Shin eat. To be honest, I'm sure Ohon does want to see Shin eat. He's just a tsundere about it. His excuse for leaving to go see Shin fight was to confirm the intentions of Supreme Commander Osen. Alright buddy, just say you want to kiss him already. Back to the siege of Retsubi, a little Bajie aura farm never hurt. A little funny moment between Shin and Yotanwa also never hurt. Bro was trying to say Yotanwa was nothing but a pretty face before she snuck up on him and had him screaming like a little girl. These type of moments are undefeated. It is finally time for the Bobros to have their moment. Bajio's unit is heading up the ladder, so victory is surely near. He just needs backup. So who else but the Bobros to step up? Side note before we continue, the anime does a much better job of consistently showing Shin holding Oki's glaive than the manga. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, them boys are sweating buckets. When the Bros said they were too close, I thought it was like a, damn bro, y'all not even gonna handicap us? Like some type of confident boast. I was wrong. They're actually scared. It makes sense. They haven't shot real people. It's getting ridiculous though. These boys are on their knees, paws, head down in fear the Choker tribe is carrying right now. Turns out their fear was more human than we thought. It is because the enemy's faces can be seen too well. Some people might argue that it's a stupid fear since it's war, but counterpoint, these are the youngest Heishin unit members. Taking a human life is not something to brush aside, on top of them being young and inexperienced. Who else but the older brother Jin to get a grip first? The best thing about his character is not overcoming his lack of bravery or his shaky hands alone, but accepting it. The most human thing about him is despite not being as brave as he thought going into war, despite his hands shaking uncontrollably, Jin knows that is no reason not to move forward with all he has. It's why they joined the Heishin unit in the first place, because to them the unit is like an arrow shot without hesitation. Jin's brain is now back. He knows that every second they waste is another second that the enemy arrows are killing their comrades. So he locks in and starts frying. I'm liking the increased gore and less censoring compared to the past seasons. A shot in the eye here, a shot in the mouth there, pause. A shot right to the middle of the dome. This is why a master archer is so broken in Kingdom. See how we weren't talking about Tan? Bro is selling. Though he eventually does start shooting, he misses 4 shots in a row before breaking down in tears and falling to his knees for the second time. Look at his big friendly giant looking ass. All that trend for what? If I'm being for real though, Tan got hella potential. You're telling me every arrow pierced a brick wall? He had to be nerfed here already, and he just got introduced. It's okay because a little Jin aura farm never hurt, and I'm here for it. He said, little bro, I'ma show you how it's done, and hit 10 shots in a row. This frees up Bajio to finally get on top of the wall and do what? You guessed it, start farming again. Shameless. He like he deserves to. Bajio solos the Retsubi soldiers. I thought the gore was already on point during Jin's performance, but it was even more beautiful here. Not to mention the animation itself was beautiful. Who would have thought that we'd get to see heads getting split open and skulls being crushed, coupled with smooth, fluid animation? I have to keep praising it. It's so smooth. Seeing Bajio kick the crap out of all these Retsubi soldiers by himself with clean quality is already a trait, but the running animation is clean too. I have full faith in Studio Signpost eventually getting to that 1000-year Blood War quality in season 20. This next moment might be small, but builds upon something that I really enjoy about the Yotanwa army, their versatility. This episode alone, we've already seen a horseman unit that nearly breached the gate in the first charge, an archer unit that was able to take out multiple soldiers with ease, and an infantry unit that was able to get past the wall's defense with a single ladder. But that isn't enough for Yotanwa. The city gate was opened in a matter of seconds because of a scouting unit that was able to sniff out where the controls were. That might be the most impressive part, but it's also cool to know that these guys can handle a few guards if needed as well. Combining all these versatile tribes together, the Yotanwa army was able to breach Retsubi at an unprecedented speed. This episode is showing exactly why I think she has the best army. The Yotanwa army may have been cooking this entire time, but we can't forget, the Heishin unit was also assigned to conquer this city, and the job is only halfway done. It's their turn. We first look at our rookies. They had one job. Kanto even reminds them, and still, one of them, this idiot, dies immediately. I couldn't help but laugh at how fast he got himself killed. To make it worse, because of their squad instantly losing a member, the squad leader lost his life too. Lucky Kanto, Sugen and his sword unit arrived just in time to save his life. He's such a good senior though. Sugen's like, even though I saved your ass and you have potential, you're still a bum. It's tough love, but I like his main message. In war, especially for his first battle, all that should matter to Kanto is staying alive. That's how dangerous war is, so surviving is already a feat in itself. I like that. Side note, once again, the anime surpasses the manga by giving us an actual good visual into Sugen's subordinates. Sujun is looking like Kyoen and Ryuto had a baby. Back to the battle at hand, Denyu just got his ass beat by some special Zhao cavalry unit. Y'all smell that? It smells like a feat waiting to happen. These rookies are out here looking like sweat bunkun, treating these Zhao soldiers like there's some monsters under the bed. But Sugen ain't having it. He throws a mean lob to Shin. Y'all better calm down. We have Shin on our side, who then cleaves this supposed Zhao superstar in twain. Again, the reduced censoring and added gore are fantastic. This is what we've been waiting for. Shin shedding huge amounts of Zhao blood with Oki's glaive in hand is too satisfying. What timeline is this? The Kingdom anime is showing Shin cleaving multiple Zhao soldiers in twain while having blood and bodies flying everywhere? But all good things eventually come to an end. Kyokai couldn't help but roast our boy. Shin ain't mastered the glaive at all. It's all in good fun though, which is why I'm a little bummed that they cut out this legendary line from the manga. The anime has Kyokai just straight up roasting Shin, but at least in the manga she says it's very manly of him, despite struggling to swing the glaive. They did my couple kinda dirty. Shin calling Oki's glaive a piece of crap was also too funny. It was well executed. I just know Oki is rolling in his grave right now, and Ko crying was the perfect reaction to what Shin said. With Shin and the Heishin unit's efforts, the city of Retsubi was successfully conquered, and we shift to Ohon arriving on the scene at sunset. Ah, how satisfying to see the Gyokuho unit be super salty that this siege began at midday and ended at sunset, lasting not even half a day, and to rub it in Ohon's face. The cherry on top was Shin standing on Retsubi's main castle with the Heishin unit flag, happy as ever. Just when I thought this episode was all about Yotanwa and Shin, Osen just couldn't help but get his. Osen said, "I'ma get mine," and started aura farming too. His eyes might be his defining physical trait, but damn are they creepy. Look at him casually strolling through the gate and giving out commands. I want to say who bro feeling like, but I guess he is the Supreme Commander. He's that guy. Now that everyone has entered the castle, preparations have begun to solidify Retsubi as a city of Chen, permanently snatched away from Zhao. It's getting real. Supply lines are everything, and so holding Retsubi is the key to making the Gyo campaign possible in the first place. The stakes could not be higher. I love it. We then cut to Zhao Commander Kosun Ryu, receiving the news that Retsubi has fallen. But the weird thing is that instead of being worried, he said it ain't nothing but a thing. Apparently within Retsubi lies Roboku's hidden scheme. Here comes the glaze. And supposedly, Osen has already discovered what it is and is farming into the sunset. It's about to be a glaze fest. All in all, I think this episode did a really good job in actually adding more stuff than it cut. The multiple scenes of Shin showing off Oki's glaive wasn't even in the manga. They played a bit more with the creative freedom when it came to fleshing out the Heishin unit members too. I can't glaze this episode enough. This episode definitely deserves a 10 out of 10. Heck, maybe even a 20 out of 5, a 6 out of 7. It was just more of a setup episode with some interesting developments, like the scene where Osen cooks up a strategy on the spot for conquering a castle that he is sitting right in front of. There was also a bit of cut content this week, but I'll talk more about that later in the video. Now, although this Yotanwa scene is the most important thing to happen in this episode, like I have nothing else to say, it's just the most important thing to happen in this episode, she is easily the hottest character in all of Kingdom. Every time I look at her, I feel like Shin, because like Oki's glaive, I simply cannot handle all that. Neither can Kanto when it comes to the battlefield. Having set up camp in Retsubi, the Heishin unit are now celebrating their victory while Kanto crashes out. It was kind of funny because he did choke, while the most unlikely duo, the Ton brothers, actually performed, rightfully earning himself the nickname of All Talk Kanto. That's tough. Who else but Shosa steps in to calm Kanto down with the most unk move, slapping him in the back of the head, perhaps only out-unked by his next action, bringing out the Henny. The way he acts is a huge reason why Shosa is loved by so many Kingdom fans. He is a great mentor for the youngins, and it shows when he says staying alive is already an achievement. Another reason why Shosa is so loved is because Unk keeps it real. When Sugen tries to act all nonchalant for saving Kanto, Shosa exposes his ass. Sugen in his very first battle not only pissed himself, but in the manga it is revealed that he did not cut down a single enemy. I was a bit bummed that this part was cut out because Kanto would have related to that, and it fleshes out Shueisha that little bit more as an empathetic mentor. The manga then shows Kanto questioning whether Shin had the same type of first battle. He could not be more wrong. Bihei starts glazing, but it's valid. Shin single-handedly broke a wave formation, destroyed one of their famed armored war chariots, and even slayed one of their generals all in one battle. Not to mention his first, resulting in Shin earning the rank of 100-man commander, I say again, after a single battle. Shin's been him since the start, which is why although Shueisha may see Shin as his dumb little brother, he is sure that there is no one more badass or inspiring than him. This part being cut out was really lame only because it is a discredit to Shueisha when these little nuances no longer exist in the anime. It's stuff like this that makes the manga community love him so much. I thought it was hilarious when Bihei was mentioning the highly loved brothers that newly joined the Heishin unit, and the Ton brothers thought he was talking about them. Though they did do great, the Bo Bros were obviously the stars of the show. More so, Jin was the star of the show. It's only mentioned in the manga, but Jin continues shooting down Zhao soldiers even after Bajie made it onto the wall. He went through 3 entire quivers, and rumors have it that every arrow Jin shot resulted in a Zhao life being taken. What a badass. I can't lie, it's supposed to be a sad moment, but Tan crying his eyes out is something he can't ask for. He did not perform, and Jin slapped the crap out of him. That's tough, but it's funny. It sucks because now Jin's all sad, when really he should be celebrating his victory. Ten says it best, he might see himself as a weakling, but Jin did better than anyone else in the unit. I really enjoyed this scene because of Ten's sentiment. Weakness isn't necessarily bad, it is just proof that you can grow stronger. Also, this little part was left out of the anime where Ten talks about fear, that even though it is something that you grow used to, it doesn't mean that it ever completely goes away. That's real, that's human. Life isn't about finding that one absolute fix. Also, Jin was getting rizzy. Or might I say, Ten was getting rizzy. Slightly. She then makes her way to the main camp only to find out that Osen disappeared. He's just gone, without any sign. Imagine he did a Sanyo and just abandoned the battle. Anyway, Ten and one of the soldiers are arguing away until best girl Yotanwa steps in and asks if that was really all Osen had to say. And everyone was speechless, mesmerized. But I can't blame him, they just like me, better than me. She's probably wondering, is anyone gonna answer me? 2 days later, Kanki is seen arriving at a strategy meeting with 4 more people than expected. My man was trying to smash, but Yotanwa blueballed him. That's the only thing I can think of from the way he reacted. Also, Shin and Ohon fighting over seats like their kids at school was pretty funny too. Now onto the juicy part of the episode. Retsubi was built to be weak on purpose, built with the idea that it would be hard to defend. Without giving it much thought, it seems so stupid that Zhao would make their national gate so weak, but Ohon brings up a great point. If Retsubi was strong and fell to the enemy, it would be damn near impossible to take it back. So instead of making it a Kenkoku pass, Roboku decided he would use his own capital as bait, retake the purposely weak Retsubi to then surround them from all sides, using the Yellow River to the south as a natural blockade. He's a genius. There goes Shoheikun's entire strategy. Without a secure supply line, or in other words, without holding Retsubi, there's no hope. Moten then lays out 2 strategies, leaving more soldiers behind in Retsubi than planned. But that would mean less soldiers to siege Gyo, no can do. Or upgrading Retsubi so that it can handle a siege of its own, but then there would be no point in having a time advantage against Roboku. This brings us to our third and final option. We go home, or so we thought. Kanki being Kanki says, why isn't there a 4th option? These youngins ain't got nothing on me. Why don't we abandon Retsubi altogether and come crashing down on Gyo with every last resource that we have? Moten thinks it's crazy, and we do too, until Kanki makes it clear to us that is why Osen disappeared in the first place. Wow. It then cuts to Osen arriving at Gyo to indeed see if this 4th option can be done. I must say, Gyo looks freaking awesome. The massive walls, the watchtower, the moat, the sheer size ports, all of it. In Osen's words, it is perfect. It is the perfect castle and cannot be conquered. Well, there goes the 4th option. But for some reason, Osen has not given up. Who's to say there isn't a 5th option? This then leads to quite literally one of the best aura farming moments in Kingdom. Looking at a map of Zhao's capital region, Osen is cooking up a new strategy on the spot. He is sitting right outside the castle that he wants to claim. That's an unmatched level of badassery. Zhao soldiers then find Osen's group, who then gives Ako the lob of the century by saying, will that be an issue? To which Ako responds, please take as long as you need. The amount of aura farming is just shameless at this this point. The only negative thing I have to say about this scene is that the scale is a little off. I like the manga version better because the entire map can be seen in front of Osun and the slaughter is happening around him, not blocking damn near half the screen. Having cooked up his plan, Osun returns to Retsubi with interesting news. The entire Qin army will move past Retsubi according to Osun's strategy. There we have it. It is now a battle of wits between Osun and Roboku. Shohei-kun is officially on fraud watch. Shifting to Roboku, he can't believe Osun's decision to continue on, despite knowing Retsubi's weakness. The same man that cooked up such an unorthodox defensive strategy doesn't know what Osun's thinking. It's getting spicy. So it looks like the real part of the war is about to begin, and that means reactions from other kingdoms. The anime doesn't show us any except for Karen glazing Roboku. It's not a huge deal, but I would have loved to see Gahome glazing Roboku in this episode. I know it sounds weird, but it is one of my favorite running gags in the manga. If Osun's stocks weren't already skyrocketing, Kanki just makes them rise even more. One thing that he knows for sure is that bastard Osun never starts a war that he'll lose. And so we begin. Yotama splits off from the main allied army first, with her matchup being against Kosan Ryu. Bonus marks for the anime. They actually show us Yotama putting her mask on. I love it. That's a treat. And the manga didn't do it. Another tiny moment cut up from the anime was Shin seeing Bajia and Tajifu off before splitting up. They go way back, so I'm sure a few seconds of this would have been cool to see. These kind of moments do matter to me. Just when we thought the entire Qin army was now on borrowed time and needed to siege Gyo as soon as possible, Osun suddenly takes the scenic route, choosing to siege a castle completely out of the way. What on earth could he be thinking? When I found out Shibusho had the same deep voice as Aizen, something else rose deep inside of me. And for an episode to be this good despite no animation in terms of fighting, speaks volumes to the quality of Kingdom's writing, OST, and voice acting. While we're on the topic of peak, it's only right we talk about the peak we got into the upcoming Qin and Zhao matchups, right? Alright, that was a little late, but we'll talk more about that later on. Shibusho's voice actor, the same voice actor that plays Aizen. This is the most important thing to happen in this episode. Sultry, sensual, seductive, a few words that describe the voice acting perfectly. I could not be happier. The episode begins with Shibusho successfully fending off Ordo. Cool. Still, I would have loved to see Shibusho and his Seika army absolutely rail Ordo. Pause. Like in the manga. Also, it would have been a treat to see Ordo absolutely lose his mind knowing Roboku hid away this sleeping tiger. By the way, they gotta start using this nickname in the anime. The anime treats this part as more of a passing scene, but in the manga it is explained that Shibusho was able to repel Ordo's 20,000 soldiers with only 5,000 of his own. That's a huge upscale. Back to the Western Zhao Invasion, Qin, having avoided Gyo, instead took a detour to Gotop. Why on earth would Osun be wasting time? The first thing he does is take all their food. The second thing is forbidding the killing of even a single citizen. A tough ask for those Kanki bastards, but nonetheless crucial to his strategy. The third thing is occupying the castle and regretfully urging the citizens to migrate to the next city. It's easy to think that maybe Osun is just a hero. Maybe there's no hidden agenda. We're just here for the food. But that's not what our young commanders think. Osun's real purpose for this city has something to do with the citizens that he just drove away. This is our first clue. What could Osun be cooking? I can't lie, I did like it a lot when Shin started crashing out. He has a point too, actually. Why aren't we heading to Gyo as fast as possible now that we're running on limited time? Not to mention our mountain homies are out there acting as a shield and can't stop until we take care of Gyo. So I see where he's coming from. Cussing out the Supreme Commander though is nasty work. But as always, Osun does everything for a reason. It would take Roboku at least one day to get to the royal capital, another day to take command of the troops in the capital region, and one more day to reach Gyo. To Osun, nothing else matters more than making sure his strategy is in place before these 3 days are up. He got something up his sleeve. Although I do like the mystery, the manga gives us a slightly better clue. Unlike the anime, the Qin army fights one more city together before splitting up, doing the exact same thing, taking all their food before casting every single citizen east. To which Osun then says, the current is taking shape. In other words, Osun being this meticulous is without a doubt intentional. The three armies then capture the remaining cities, following Osun's instructions to a T. With everyone else confused, who else but Kyokai gives us our second clue to Osun's strategy. A side note, I thought it was awesome to see that the young trio are capable of taking down cities without the help of Kanki and Osun. Anyway, Kyokai says that the sea of citizens moving east that Osun is creating are locusts. Now that is interesting. The only thing I can think of is that locusts usually symbolize famine, or in other words, a great lack of food leading to people moving elsewhere in search of it. It just so happens that all these soon-to-be starving citizens are moving east towards Gyo. Now isn't that spicy? If it isn't clear already, it didn't just happen. This is all according to Osun's design. Food is not infinite, and Osun knows this. Roboku has now arrived at the royal capital where he met with two gentlemen. These aren't fighter generals, but rather former vassals of Rin Shoujo, one of the past three great heavens of Zhao. That's epic. Generals from the same generation as Renpa. Why haven't we seen them before? Well, their main station is defending the capital, so they have to be formidable. Now that Roboku has entered the capital region, news reached him of the refugees that Osun created. I love how Kingdom smoothly incorporates exposition by having one of the smartest generals ever explain to us the genius of another general that is supposed to be on the same level. First of all, Osun purposely had the Qin army capture the towns in succession from west to east. Combine this with Yotanwa acting as a shield to the north, and the refugees are forced to move towards Gyo. I'll talk about this next thing more later on, but I do want to note that El Choki, being such a graceful ruler, is a nice contrast to the horrible Zhao king, and that's an understatement. Not only is Gyo overflowing with citizens and running out of space, their food is quickly running out, with the 5th grain house already needing to be opened. Osun's strategy is becoming clear. Back to Roboku, he knows, Osun knows, we all know by now that Gyo cannot be conquered through brute force alone, and yet Osun chose to push onward anyway. Who in their right mind knows for certain that no weapon can siege this perfect castle and still tries to conquer something that's supposedly unconquerable? Better yet, successfully creates an entirely new weapon using the enemy's own citizens. With Gyo now officially under siege, which Roboku expected to happen, there is one thing that he did not foresee: that the castle under siege would be holding 9 cities worth of citizens. Just like that, if this was a chess match, Osun put Roboku in check. Somehow, even though Qin were the ones that had their supply lines cut off, Osun made it into a battle of who starves first. How has it become a race between the Qin army and Gyo when Qin is in Zhao territory? Kanki says it best: Osun is one crazy bastard. Even though we're the ones being surrounded and starved out, Osun is somehow able to starve out Gyo using Zhao's own citizens. That's insane for Qin. Insanely embarrassing for Zhao. Roboku then goes to meet the Zhao king in hopes of receiving control of the royal army, but he will not allow even one soldier to leave the capital. He doesn't care about Gyo falling because the capital can apparently withstand a siege of 10 to 20 years. That's actually crazy, by the way. I did not expect that. This is one evil bastard. Even if the capital falls, Bro could care less because by then he should be dead anyway. If there's ever a time to feel bad for Roboku, this is definitely one of them. This is what I meant before by a nice contrast. Tojo is a far cry from his uncle. Roboku's next words are the cherry on top. It is said that a kingdom's enemies are never the cause of its ruin. Fair. An entire kingdom falling through might alone is pretty difficult. Back to the Qin army. Since Osun has finished all his preparations, the real battle is about to begin. 3 in fact. The Kanki army will be responsible for starving out Gyo while repelling any attacks from minor Zhao armies. The Yotanwa army will be responsible for repelling the Ryoyo army, who they are already fighting. The only difference is that Heki will be arriving shortly as reinforcements with his 10,000 soldiers. Lucky bastard, he has the best assignment by far. And finally, the Osun army. The Gyokuho, the Gakuka, and the Hishin units will be responsible for repelling the Yatsuyo army, the one that Osun predicts Roboku will be leading. It's about to go down, and I could not be more excited for next episode. All in all, the only way this episode could have been better was if they added a little more animation or fighting in there, like I said before. For example, showing us Shueisha absolutely tearing up Order. Obviously, the highlight was Osun's locust strategy coupled by the OST, and Kyokai recognizing it first was pretty cool too. Next week's episode is most definitely going to be a banger. They should be hands thrown for sure. This episode was a 9 out of 10. There is nothing but absolute cinema to look forward to, and without a doubt, cool ass fight scenes with questionable animation. Anyway, let's talk about the most important scene of the episode. Yotanwa, Yotanwa, Yotanwa. This isn't even in the manga, but let it be known that I am always down for an anime-only Yotanwa visual. The love for Yotanwa is clear. This season really is putting a lot of effort into her visuals. When a messenger arrives to relay the plan to Yotanwa, he can't help but blush. Bro's me. You can't blame him. She's looking way too damn good. The thing that gets me the most is her duality. How can someone so graceful and beautiful also be so ferocious? Her visuals did not need to be this damn clean. Tiny side note, it was removed from the anime, but I thought this moment should be mentioned because it was freaking hilarious. The messenger was simping like no other. I wouldn't describe Yotanwa as sexy, but you know what I would describe as sexy? The Figo King's voice actor. My man sounds amazing. He sounds tough. Might I say he sounds kingly. Alright, bad joke. On a serious note, the Figo King makes a great point. Despite all the tribe chiefs being ego itself, they all still choose to follow Yotanwa. Why is that? Because her might is on a whole other level. Boom! Instant upscale. I love it. And what do we have here? Another anime-only Yotanwa visual? Give me all of it. The funniest thing though has to be the Figo King saying that everyone's main motivation for fighting under Yotanwa is the hope that one day she'll fall in love with them. Can't say I blame her. That's real. Just when everyone thought the mountain army would be playing defense, instead they began a massacre. It's always a good day seeing Zhao soldiers get folded. Most people might think that the mountain army are nothing more but a bunch of brainless brutes. Our best girl Yotanwa is here to prove that theory wrong. If anything, Yotanwa shows that the mountain army also possesses fundamentals similar to the plains folk. The first tactic she employs is a danai, or in our language, a feint. She's smart and a baddie. What more do we want? The danai is then followed up by the manai, or in other words, the real attack. So never let it be said that Yotanwa does not know the fundamentals of strategy. Seeing 3 of Yotanwa's big guns team up was epic. This is the mountain army's version of the 2008 Boston Celtics. Shunman isn't here because he's Rondo, the underrated one. I have to say the animation isn't the best and it's a little too censored for my liking. Not enough bodies being chopped up. The manga panel clears. I know the entire first half of this episode was pretty much all about Yotanwa, but now it is time for the Battle of Shukai Plains to begin. It is time for Osen versus Roboku. I didn't expect anything less than aura farming from both sides. It is safe to say, don't hate me for this, that we're witnessing the biggest aura clash of the season. The battle is nearly upon us and it looks like the board is set. The hype here is unmatched. No wonder Shin was freaking out. Moten is on the left by himself with only 5,000 soldiers. Looking at the board, the best matchups are going to be Moten versus Kisui, Osen versus Roboku, and Ako versus Chogar Ryu. I'm expecting big things from Osen's first general. I am sort of bummed that a cool Moten moment was removed from the anime. This panel sums up perfectly what it means to start the battle. It's a glorious honor that's not to be ignored. The battle has begun and the chess match between Osen and Roboku is already underway. The first move is made by Roboku, commanding his right wing to advance and take the bait laid out by Osen. Kisui's 30,000 against Moten's 5,000. Moten wastes no time and immediately starts cooking. His first move is splitting up his already small unit into 2 even smaller halves. Using his half, Moten begins tearing up Kisui's right flank. I like it, but in the manga, I admit he looks more cold, or nonchalant and stabbing multiple soldiers in succession. One-shot kills, and just like that, Moten is already taking control of the left wing. He predicts Kisui sending out cavalry to pursue him, and so he retreats. What Kisui doesn't know is that Moten isn't struggling to outrun the proud Rigan cavalry. He is purposely running away while staying close enough to keep them in pursuit. If only these proud bastards knew that Rikusen, the spear of the Gakuka unit, would suddenly appear. This is only Moten's first bait of the day, one of the all-time classic Kingdom moments. Moten welcomes Zhao's left wing to the hunting grounds, and now it's them retreating. Seeing his precious allies being cut down in such a one-sided manner, Bate can't help but ride out to their aid. Moten orders a retreat for the second time today. Smart. After all, it would not be crazy to say that Bate is equal to half of the Kisui army's might. Just when it looked like Moten was going to lose 2 of his men, in comes Kozen, the best adjutant by the way, with the second surprise attack of the day. Kozen's apology can only mean one thing: this was planned by Moten once again, hitting us with the second bait of the day. Barte's head is now in Moten's sights, or so we thought. He was not having it, and this episode decided to put their entire budget into Rikusen and Moten's reactions. Why is the art so clean? The battle just started and Moten already took out nearly 1,000 of Kisui's cavalry with little to no casualties. Remember, Moten only has 5,000 of his own. That's impressive. It's insane how much Kisui respects him already. He does not take any chances and commands his entire force to face the right flank and take out Moten. Unlucky for him, Moten hits us with his third and real bait of the day. As soon as Kisui turned to his right flank, the Mako army appeared to hit their former front, now left flank. To make matters worse, it isn't a small detachment hitting their flank. It is a full-fledged wave attack planned all along, led by Osun's second general. To think that the entire time, Osun wanted the Mako army as his real left wing from the start. Cinema! And the battle is nowhere near the peak. What an amazing way to kick off the second half of Season 6. I will say, I can't blame them for the use of CGI when it comes to the sea of soldiers, but I can't excuse the times where the art style and animation is lackluster. All in all, this episode gets an 8 out of 10. Moten is standing on business, showing Osun how it's done. Obviously, Osun knew what was going on too, but the fact that Moten was even able to predict how the board would play out the same as Osun is insane. Bananji knows no king, but the king in the north whose name is Roboku. Ohon's time to shine has arrived and he did not disappoint. And of course, the most important scene of the episode. Yotanwa's not today, buddy. Mako impaling someone with his glaive while holding them up in the air might be one of the most badass things I've ever witnessed. Nonchalant final boss. He even left his horse hoof in this poor bastard's chest. That's nasty work. I thought he was badass until he suffered an immediate aura loss talking to Moten. Mako tried to sun him, only for Moten to call out his exact strategy. That's embarrassing, but it doesn't change the fact that the wave attack he used was super effective. Since Zhao were being hit with multiple groups of soldiers in succession, it felt like Qin had an overwhelming advantage in numbers, which wasn't even true, but it demoralized them. The only one who knew the truth was Kisui, and so he didn't waste any time unveiling Mako's scheme, or rather, Osun's scheme. So I guess it's an Osun upscale. It's funny because Zhao had more numbers. After this attack, they were even, so Kisui lying was a smart move. Another Osun upscale. Since Kisui's forces are still going strong, Bate is now hitting the Mako army's flank. Apparently right where Osun wants them to be. Wow, what can't Osun do? Be a loving father. Yet another Osun upscale. Kisui is out here glazing him. What an eye for strategy, he says. It's not a Mako fate, it's an Osun fate. It's not a Moten fate, it's an Osun fate. Forget what Moten did with 5,000 soldiers. Osun put them there in the first place, so the credit goes to him. At least somebody appreciates Moten, and it's Osun. He had so much belief in him that he offered Moten the position of aide if he were to succeed on the left wing. The anime is a little more slick when it comes to this, but I prefer how the manga did it. It is made crystal clear that Moten had the same vision as Osun. Everything that has happened up to this point, Moten knew as Osun knew. Instead of being overjoyed at the prospect of joining Osun's army, Moten starts crashing out. Justice for his boy Ohon, not my boy. Free his boy Ohon. I can't lie, Ko looks like one cold MF. As soon as Ohon hears that his daddy Osun was the one that came up with this strategy to leave the Gyokyo unit out of the main offense, he said it was terrible. This man's hilarious. A commentary on daddy issues in Kingdom? Who would have thought? With the right wing battle finally about to start, the sea of soldiers was epic to witness. This combined with the soundtrack made me hype like no other. If there's one thing that we learnt about a Ko before saying anything, it is that he faces his enemies head on. No tricks up his sleeve. He throws down without care for anything else. You have to respect it. This is Osun's first army commander. When I said without care for anything else, little did we know that also included anyone else. Ko's cavalry never slows down, cutting through even allies to advance forward. It might be cold-hearted, but an uninterrupted charge would be super powerful, and it makes this a Ko upscale all the more believable that he has yet to lose a head-on clash. It might be just in my head, but I feel like every single time Bananji is on screen, he has to remind us that he's from the north. I actually love it. Game of Thrones vibe. vibes, Winterfell vibes, House Stark vibes, except it's Ganmen and Roboku. Once again, the anime does not care for nicknames, but I have to mention it. Bananji's offensive power is known as the Iron Hammer of Wrath in the manga. I just can't ignore a good nickname. I was looking forward to seeing Bananji cook, but the anime dialed up its censoring compared to previous episodes. Where's this masterpiece? Faces being split in half, heads flying everywhere. I need it. Something that really surprised me was Bananji's use of tactics. He did not strike me at all as a man that favored anything else but martial might. Then again, he is Roboku's adjutant. With Bananji in the fray, Ako is in deep crap. Not long before, Ohon immediately defies orders and makes his move, penetrating Bananji's flank paws. I'll never get sick of Ohon no-diffing enemies with his spear. Despite going against orders, Ohon separating Bananji from the majority of his cavalry has created a juicy opportunity, a pincer attack in combination with Ako. I guess Ako can't really complain because Ohon did get him out of a pickle, while at the same time put Bananji in a pickle of his own. Just when it looks like things are going Chin's way, Bananji, who should be charging forward, has suddenly turned around to attack Ohon's detached unit. What a cliffhanger of doom. I hate doing this, but I have to. The anime has to give me a little more. Bananji looks way scarier in the manga. This is the level of fear that Hara was aiming for. All in all, decent episode. 8 out of 10. Despite the Ohon vs Bananji fight being questionably animated, the art for Bananji was beautiful. This episode was just a lot more enjoyable to watch than last week. I mean, Yotan was back on screen. She's so effortlessly a baddie. Seeing her out here cooking is just perfect. And holy crap, this random mountain army commander out of nowhere is revealed to have the most sensual voice actor, and no one but me is acknowledging it. Also, the mountain army might have finally met their match. I'm kind of sad that the season is nearly done. Anyway, there's a lot of things to love about this episode. Starting with Bananji, look at the blood. Look at the bodies being cleaved in twain. That's what I want to see. Bananji's so tough, man. I see a bloody glaive and I cannot keep it together. But the aura farming doesn't stop there. Ohon just had to clap back. He said he doesn't know who Bananji is and for that matter won't even try to remember. If I had to say my most memorable moment for this episode, it has to be them doing Bananji so much justice. While Bananji is yapping away trying to disrespect the Chin King, Ohon said he ain't listening to all that. So anyway, I started blasting. He does make a great point though. 500 years of warfare saw around 100 states transform into the 7 warring states we know today. So who's to say that unification isn't the answer that history was already seeking? I like it. I hate to say it, but Ohon looked cold. Onto the Ohon and Bananji fight, there's no way around it. The animation's but. To make it worse, they didn't even include the Ohon upscale that's in the manga. It is said that Ohon is now able to combine the speed and precision he already had with a destructive force on the same level as El Shi. That's an upscale. And it wasn't included. There is at least one moment that shows Ohon's insane speed. It wasn't long before Bananji started glazing Ohon, a spear user like no other. My only issue is that the manga does a better job of showing and not just telling. It makes us really feel as though every time Bananji tries to swing his glaive, he's inevitably met with a flurry of attacks from Ohon. Almost like there's no point of trying to fight back. I did not expect Bananji to then pull off his weird ass signature move. He threw his glaive as if it were an Olympic javelin event, grabbed Ohon's arm, hit him with a UFC takedown, and tried to duff him with the nastiest of hooks on some Alex Pereira timing. The only thing I have to say is that the manga art clears this scene. Besides that, Bananji is one cold MF. And I told y'all, this episode is doing him justice. Bananji is with all the smoke. Both Ako and Ohon have him trapped and he said, y'all really think you can take my head on day one? He's more than a musclehead. Bananji is genuinely smart and prepared for the detachment he previously sent away to come back and help him. Moving on, Yotanwa is back. It felt like forever ago that we saw her. Seriously though, it is awesome to see the mountain army cooking again and tearing apart their enemies. This next part I witnessed was unacceptable as a Yotanwa stan, but as a Peak Kingdom enjoyer, my goodness, this scene was nasty. Shueisha finally arrives on the scene with this small detachment, each of them with a mountain soldier attached to their horse, choking them out. He waited for them to be right in front of Yotanwa and then killed them. Crazy aura loss for our best girl, but my goodness. Again, this guy is nasty. I know my girl ain't gonna let that slide though. She out for blood. At first, it might have seemed a little weird that Zhao with nearly double the soldiers decided to retreat, but that's because Ryoyo has revealed their true army, the Quan Rong tribe. I love the character design and the whole wolf tribe aesthetic. In a way, they seem more beastly than Yotanawa's people. I love this new addition so much. The antagonist holding such savage power hits different to them being on our side. The mountain army finally has a direct rival on screen. I can excuse the CGI when it comes to the sea of soldiers, but I can't excuse not even trying to give us a little bit more movement during Shunmin's charge. What do we have here? Another aura farmer classic, the Quanrong King, Rozo. His design is incredible. On top of that, he has the same voice actor as Kenpachi from Bleach. Something that I thought was really cool was Shueisha and Rozo speaking a special mountain language with the anime clearly pointing it out. This should have been done earlier with Yotanawa like it is in the manga, but still cool. Again, the art here looks fantastic. Dare I say, the art during this part of the episode clears the manga. Rare, but welcome. We're then hit with a fun fact. The Western mountain tribes are the descendants of the Northern mountain tribes. Now that's interesting. It's not one of the better Kingdom episodes without seeing Yotanawa in action. It's so beautiful. Look at the fear in King Rozo's face. Yotanawa and her unit decimate the Quanrong while being the ones charging up the hill. And who do we have here? I just know she's important with that silky ass voice. W voice actor. It's nice to see Yotanawa using tactics and not always brute force alone. 5-arrow volley. That has got to be a mountain army special. It wasn't enough for her to destroy them going up the hill. She also got their ass going down the hill too. Martial might tactics, she got it all. Who else but the Figo King can't keep it together? Horny ass. Typical. Yotanawa was so bad, man. It's shameless. I would never. I'll be completely honest, I don't like Shueisha in the manga, but bro looks amazing in the anime. And finally, just when it seemed like our boy Shin was not the main character anymore, it is time for him to join the fray, to take Kisui's head. I'm so excited for next episode. All in all, this episode gets a 9 out of 10. It is always a lovely day when Shin shows me any type of tactical recognition or development. He knows that the Kisui army is now in a pickle because of Moten and Ako's pincer attack. I also gotta say, this anime-only scene showing Oki's glaive is so beautiful. We didn't ask for it, but it's more than welcome. Another instance, Shin showing tactical improvement. To Ten, something like raising the flags is seen as unnecessary. But to Shin, he knows the importance of such an action. Making a grand entrance isn't just to look cool. It works in our favor, especially against an enemy that already knows our capabilities, like Kisui, who knows and respects the strength of the Hishin units after the Kokyo campaign. He's not going to be as confident knowing the Hishin unit is on the way. So rather than maybe sneaking onto the battlefield with the numbers that they have, like Shin said, he knows they may as well raise their flags and intimidate the enemy. Onto our second best kill, Kyogai. She keeps smoking that Ryuto pack. He wasn't enough, she just had to go and also body his bodyguards. She's cold. I mean, look at her. For this next part, I cannot believe that someone could say something so smart. And in the same sentence, something so ironic. Mako said that war is like a current. Anyone can float into the sunlight. In other words, anyone on the board can be the star player. Too bad Mako wants to be the star too often. The setup was insane. First of all, Shin is sent in as Ako's one-hit kill detachment force. That is the first misdirection. Second of all, Mako gives the whole war is like a current spiel, as in it could be any one of Moten, Shin, or Mako himself to lead Shin to victory on the left wing. That's the second misdirection, only for Roboku. In all this chaos, in this tumultuous current that should be overwhelming Zhao to take advantage of Mako's carelessness. He wants to be the star too often. Mako was too confident, overly so to the point of not carrying his glaive. Roboku got his ass. Mako deserves every bit of it. Roboku not only sliced his neck open, but he pushed Mako's sorry attempt of defending himself back and removed his head from his shoulders. Head and shoulders. #ad. The craziest thing is that as a manga reader, I know that this is an everyone let's glaze Roboku episode because they added an anime only scene of him just farming. Shameless. Though not the same scale, it was cool to see our boy Shin catching Roboku off guard, right after he caught Mako off guard. If nothing else, it at least shows Shin's potential to foil Roboku's plans. The way Roboku escaped hit can only be described as a horse diff. What an absolute shame. It hurts more knowing that Oki, our beloved Oki, our thick-lipped specimen, also lost to Roboku because of a horse diff. Despite having the supersonic horse squadron on his side, shout out Alabasta, Roboku willingly slows down to talk smack to Shin. Nasty, nasty. He slowed down just to let Shin know all the times that he failed to reach him, to tell him that this time is no different, that once again Shin has failed to reach him. Disgusting. But I'm glad. At least Shin stood on that. He said, burn the image of this majestic glaive into your brain, into your head, because it will be this same glaive that will take it. That's hard. That's hard. But the art was not. It felt a little lackluster. The manga art definitely clears. This is not going to be the only time I say this for sure, but Moten is so freaking cool. His stocks are up here. In this scene especially, he said to Shin, the whole war depends on this one day, and it's far from over. Us two bros are going to head straight into the storm and revive the Mako army. Badass. I absolutely loved it when Moten started crashing out. So passionate. Shin level passion. He might be one of the few people that are able to be that passionate and yet still able to retain all their logic. Long story short, Moten said, y'all are sorry. Y'all are bums. The elite troops of the Mako army are just wasting away without being deployed. Or better yet, without being given a chance. Moten taking charge is when it starts to become really juicy. The only one in this entire wing that still believes a comeback is possible is him. He makes a great point. Mako being dead doesn't take away the thorough training that each and every single one of his soldiers endured. They are supposed to be the strongest troops in Osen's army. So what's Moten's strategy? To restore their lost morale. As sad, as cruel as it may be. Nasty work, like I say. Moten decides to use deception to trick all the Mako troops into thinking that he is still alive. Genius plan, but damn. All in all, again, this episode was awesome. I give it a 9 out of 10. Today we witnessed the greatest improv performance of all time and the start of Moten's meteoric rise to glory. A man with as much drip as he has aura. Moten's strategy was definitely the highlight of this episode for me, and it all begins with the first part of his plan. Sending messengers throughout the battlefield, Moten chooses to lie about Mako still being alive. This doesn't automatically boost morale, but it does make the previously slumped Mako army at least lift up their heads to look around and confirm for themselves. Smart. This brings us to the second part of his plan, to create 2 footholds by sending out Shin and Rikusen to bulk up the largest remaining unit on each side. Combining these efforts with raising the Mako army flags instead of their own gives the Mako army that one more push, but it's still not enough. This brings us to the third part of his plan. A phrase is needed to light a fire in them. A phrase is needed to bring them back to life. Words that only the Mako army would understand. During their drills that ran from dawn till dusk, during the times that were at their limit, Mako always said these same 3 words. Stand and fight. Epic. Just like that, Moten managed to revive the Mako army. If only it were that easy to win the battle. Restoring morale isn't enough. Now it's time to cook up the rest of his strategy. Moten decides to keep on sending reinforcements to Shin and Rikusen, particularly giving Shin more cavalry. At first, that might seem like he's sacrificing his own headquarters since it won't be able to survive a single charge, but that's also part of his plan. The fact that he's an outsider and seamlessly took control is insane. He's so good at warfare that Ten couldn't help but stare at him. Hey, she ain't no better than me. To add on to that, Ten said even Shueisha doesn't know the extent of his talent. That's a valid glaze. Moten knew that Bate wouldn't go after a supposedly hopeless HQ without its general, that it would be more appealing to go after the dominating Heishin unit. With Bate now on their tail and Moten having prepared for this by giving them more cavalry, the Heishin unit successfully lured them away from the main battlefield. I'll be honest, Kyokai needed to be here to make sure they weren't caught. Still, This brings us to the final part of Moten's strategy. Using the bulk of the cavalry that he hid in the forest to the left, he reinforced Rikison. And now we know Moten's aim all along, to revive at least the left half of the Mako army. It's not possible to save everybody, so it's genius. Very quick side note, we were blessed with a glimpse at Yotanawa's battlefield. Just when we thought it'd be another classic Figo King and Yotanawa mess around, she wasn't having it. It was a beautifully done scene. Or rather, she's beautiful. In the manga, they did give us some Baggio action, so that would have been pretty cool to see, but I'm not mad that they didn't go that route. Back to the star of the show, Moten, this is the beginning of his well-deserved glaze. Roboku is furious because he has to redo his entire plan. Killing Mako somehow amounted to nothing. This is a testament to Moten's genius. It isn't shown on screen, but it is implied that Moten was able to drive back Kisui, who personally entered the fray. That's impressive. But it already was, with Moten fighting until he lost consciousness at the vanguard. His efforts weren't for nothing. He even surpassed the original goal of his strategy and saved more than half of the Mako army. And so it is no surprise that Osen praises Moten to the point of promoting him to general for the remainder of this campaign. It's official. Wow, he was the first of the trio to reach it. The sight of all the Mako army soldiers kneeling before Moten and honoring him as general was epic. If that wasn't enough, in comes a huge Moten upscale. Osen said that Moten is already at the level required to disrupt him and Roboku. Moten might just be great general level. On a different note, Choga Ryu is finally entering the battlefield. It'll be interesting to see one wing of a previous great heaven of Zhao go to work. The way he explains killing a talented general is so cool. The first way is to create a plan that eventually ends up with executing them in the late game. Exactly what Roboku did to Oki. The second way is to catch them by surprise on the first day before the enemy can get used to your fighting style. That's what Roboku did to Mako and what Choga Ryu plans to do. Gakue tries to tell him it's day 2 tomorrow, but Choga Ryu says, buddy, for me it's day 1. That's true. Super badass. No one knows what he's capable of. I can't wait for the season finale. I give this episode a 10 out of 10. Ohan just reached enlightenment, or rather, he now understands the view that a great general sees. The fact that Moten was the one to introduce to Ohan this concept speaks volumes about why he was able to manipulate the left wing despite being at a disadvantage. And now Ohan has found himself in a disadvantage of his own, even though he is caught in a pincer attack by 2 Zhao generals and is being overwhelmed by greater numbers. Ohan has decided to cook up a strategy instead of running away. While Banyo runs away with the main units, Ohan with a small detachment slips through the pincer attack. Anyone would think, with Ohan's life as the main priority, after slipping through, the reasonable move would be to join up with the Ako army's reinforcements. Ohan in this case is not reasonable at all. His main mission is to speed past the Bananji army's rear all the way to their left edge. In other words, the weakest points of their line formation. I think this part hits harder when supplemented by the manga. It is said that during the Warring States period, the line formation was everything, so it was always important to pay attention to the vulnerable rear and edges of the line formation. This is why reserves are placed at the back. Ohan, being the crazy bastard that he is, saw this opportunity to attack the Bananji army's left edge, since Choga Ryu, who should have been in these reserves, rode out to slay him. Genius. The funniest thing is that Ohan's gamble didn't end with riding past the entire Bananji army. It was also a gamble as to whether or not Ako would move his troops to support Ohan's pincer attack. How epic. A pincer for a pincer. It's just like Moten said, this is the view that a great general sees. No matter the situation, no matter if Ohan was facing near certain death, a great general always sees themselves as the star player and everything else revolves around them. Exactly what Ohan did to Ako. If we weren't already satisfied, Choga Ryu said that Ohan reminded him of Rin Shoujo, one of the 3 great heavens of Zhao. That's really cool, but the best thing about this is that it could possibly possibly mean Rinshoujo's strategic ability could be at least hinted at through Ohon. According to Choga Ryu, Rinshoujo completely embodied the view that a great general sees. It could be the middle of a great war, but if a light bulb goes off, Rinshoujo puts his plan into motion immediately. To hell with anyone else's opinion, even if it is one of Renpa's heavenly kings. It's a devious mentality, but to him, to be a great general is to have both your enemies and allies in the palm of your hand. Speaking of devious, one of Kingdom's most devious characters was just introduced in the anime, Akakit, the man with the funniest personality and one of the greatest laughs. Honestly, props to the voice actor for doing a fantastic job. With the second day now at an end, it is so satisfying to see Bate completely lose it. Not only did the left wing end in a stalemate, it might be more accurate to say that Moten actually won. He's the one not doing anything crazy while Bate is completely at his mercy, hence stalemate. Although I'm not an Ohon stan, it was nice to see him be praised, especially since his dad hates him for some reason. His strategy apparently put the Bonanji army in an unrecoverable position that can't be brushed aside. This episode is probably any Heishin unit stan's worst nightmare, and Bihei is literally all of us. Ohon of all people is cooking while we're sitting on the sidelines. Low-key, this season mostly belonged to Moten and the next up was Ohon. This was not a Heishin unit season at all. You know what's really bad? When Garo starts rage baiting the infantry. At least we cornered Roboku. What did you turtles do? Saying they cornered Roboku is an insane embellishment, but Garo really did know how to cause mass ignorance. This one line caused everybody to crash out. Sugen wasn't having it. Shosa wasn't having it. Even Shin wanted a slice. He went as far as cussing out Osun. That crap was hilarious. This is why dinner time was a great contrast to what just happened. Ten said dinner was ready and Kyokai wasted no time lining up. She don't play about her food and I love it. One of the series' best running gags. Just when I thought Ohon could not win any more this episode, he did just that. While everyone else thinks that Gyoen arriving with 10,000 soldiers only tanks their morale, Ohon sees it differently. This battle at Shukai Plains at the end of the day comes down to the central armies. In other words, Osun and Roboku fighting for control of the wings is supposed to thin out the other's central army. So the fact that Roboku sent out Gyoen means that Zhao's central army is now 10,000 soldiers weaker. Ohon knows what he's talking about. Just continue what we're doing and eventually Osun will be able to take the field and win the war. Ohon wants all the smoke. 1,000? 10,000? It doesn't matter how many reinforcements they send. That's our role. What a cold freaking speech. To end off the episode, Roboku couldn't help but glaze. Gyoen, Rinshoujo, as part of the Three Great Heavens of Zhao, was obviously Renpa's equal. However, Gyoen was the one that carried the brunt of the Rinshoujo army's martial might. He was the one that led the rest of Rinshoujo's generals into the fray. When it comes to hands, it's all Gyoen. I'm so excited for part 2. All in all, I give this episode a 9 out of 10. If you made it to the end, thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comment section below. Also, it would mean a lot to me if you guys have a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe for more videos like this.